We're going to kickstart off things with parks from down under. Now, I'm talking today with Marty VK4KC, who is the POTA coordinator or POTA admin, I think, in VK. And I've been speaking with you in the last few days, last couple of weeks after I did my first activation, and we sort of got together and thought that we'd do a video on parks down under and how active it really is down here. So good evening, Marty. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me on your channel there, Hayden. I'm excited, mate. Looking forward to the time we have ahead of us, and hopefully we can talk more about what's come out of your activation. And it was interesting actually looking at your activation and some of the comments that came from different users, around Australia and the US, and hopefully we can maybe clear up a few things as we talk about both the WWFF and POTA programs this evening, and some other good tools that are available for park activators.
Yeah.
So because
both of those, we'll go into it, of course, but both of those programs are pretty heavily, they're quite popular at them, especially WWFF is one of the most popular programs in Australia for parks, but POTA's gaining momentum, which is good.
It is. The WWFF program has been around for a long time, since 2008, and it's been in Australia for a long time, where POTA, it's kind of in its infancy in Australia. So in the pond, WWFF or VKFF is the big fish, and POTA is the tadpole when it comes to Australian park activations. But POTA is doing well, and we're doing well. Now, I must tell you, Hayden, for your viewers tonight, I have arthritis in my neck, and I get some twitches every now and then. So in case they don't think it's Tourette's or something, if they see me twitching a little bit, that's my normal life, mate, that I have to live with and deal with every day. So
that's fine. I suppose that'd be a difficult thing to deal with day to day, is it?
It is. It's
painful.
It's painful. I get these shots of pain, and it's just something I deal with, mate. When you get into your 50s, mid 50s, you get all sorts of aches and pains, and yeah. But anyway, we'll get through it.
That's good. That's good. All right. Well, let's kick it off. We've got a slideshow which you've kindly done for us, and so we're talking about parks down under, the amateur radio parks, and some of the activation programs in VK.
Yeah. So the one that's been around for the actually, let's talk about parks first before we get into the programs. And we call our parks national parks, but in fact, they're not really national parks, except for just a few in Australia. All the parks here are funded, or most of the parks are funded by the state governments. And so you've got programs such as, or departments in the state government, such as New South Wales Parks and Wildlife, or in Victoria, Parks Victoria, that actually run and manage and fund most of the national parks in Australia. So that second dot point there, the federal government actually doesn't look after much at all. They share responsibility with the Great Barrier Reef, with Queensland, and they also have responsibility for 6 Commonwealth national parks, including the wonderful Kakadu and Uluru parks in the Northern Territory, a few of the islands, and but they do have responsibility for the 58 Commonwealth marine parks, which are part of the WWFF and POTA programs. So even though we call them national parks, majority of them are really run by our states. But,
well, at the time, I was going to say, at the time of recording, we've got a federal election coming up shortly, and it makes a lot of sense that the federal government doesn't share any responsibility for most of the parks, and they don't share a lot of responsibility for a lot of things. But anyway,
yeah, that's so true. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so sometimes we get questions about why aren't our local council parks in the POTA program, and I know, or in the WWFF program, and I know those questions come up a lot on the POTA Facebook site too, as I read through comments. But how we've chosen to do it in Australia is that they need to be listed in the Collaborative Australian Protected Areas Database, which is CAPAD for short. and that's listed on the Department of Environment, which is a federal database, and that gets updated every couple of years. So we add to the WWFF and POTA parks about every 2 years when they do an update through that program. One of the wonderful things that we'll look at a little bit later in our program tonight is the Mark Hillman VK3OHM. He created and keeps updated a KMZ park boundaries file that can be opened or imported into Google Earth. And that's that data, the raw data comes from KPAD, and then he massages that and gets it into a format suitable for all of us users to be able to access and see where our park boundaries are within the Australian parks, which is actually fantastic, a great tool.
Yeah, yeah, because unlike summits on the air, which is a little bit easier because you just know how far away from the summit of a mountain you need to be operating from, parks are a little bit more difficult to ascertain, because I know that I've, even looking on Google Earth, looking on here in Tasmania, we've got a special mapping system that we can look up all of these things, but not everywhere's got that. So, that KMZ file is a really handy one, and we'll show a bit of a demonstration of that a little bit later on. But that's a good one.
So we'll go on to now a little bit of information about the actual park programs. Now, the oldest one that I'm aware of is the Keith Roger Memorial National Parks Award, which is formerly known as the Victorian National Parks Award, and it's been running since 1970. And I think there's about 45 parks in Victoria, national parks, and I think you have to activate 15 parks to get their entry level award. But then there's, I think, 2 other entries. Once you activate all the parks, which I think one person has done, then that's the highest level of that award. But that's a specific awards program that's for the Victorian National Parks. I've got a feeling there might be one for New South Wales parks as well, but I'm not too familiar with that, and it came at a later date. So now we'll get into the Worldwide Flora and Fauna, the WWFF program. So it started back in 2008, but in looking at the website, I can find statistics back to around about 2010. So there are 58 national programs under the WWFF umbrella, and the VKFF program is a part of the WWFF on a national basis. So that's our national program. And of course, for the US, it would be the KFF program is what falls under the WWFF umbrella for them. So to activate a park for the WWFF program, you need 44 contacts. So for the Australian, go ahead.
Yeah, right. So 44. Mind you, I guess it doesn't. If you're spotting and you're letting people know of your activations, it doesn't take that long to rack up those amount of contacts, does it?
No, particularly if you're activating on weekends and late in the afternoon. Sometimes during a workday, it can be a lot harder to get your 44 contacts. But you've got to remember those 44. You can work the same person as long as it's on a different mode or a different band. So you can double up the call signs that way as well. And so I could work someone on sideband, someone on CW, someone on AM, and get those 3 contacts, and then do the same thing on another band. And so there's many ways to be able to work those 44 contacts. And so for the Australian National Program, the VKFF, it's a little simpler. It's 10 contacts. One of the nice things about the WWFF program is for both the WWFF and VKFF, those contacts can be accumulated over time. They don't have to be within the same UTC day. Interesting fact that you found out when you were activating for the first time, you were having people saying 73, 44. So,
yes. Yeah. it threw me at first, and then what I decided to do is I thought it must be something significant and to do specifically with the park. So I decided to, and if you actually go back and have a look at my video, I started signing off 44 as well without having any clue what it meant.
And because the WWFF program is so entrenched in Australia, it's very common to hear that. in-park activations here. And so what it means, the 44 Flora and Fauna is interpreted as the slogan for WWFF. The first digit 4 represents the 4 elements: earth, water, air, and fire. The second digit represents the 4 directions: north, south, west, and east. So that puts a little bit of meaning behind the symbol. Now, the 2 main websites for us Aussies in the WWFF program is the main website, which is wwff.co, and wwffaustralia.com. And the coordinator for Australia is Paul Simmons, VK5PAS. And just let me say, Paul is an absolute fantastic guy. You know, he has done so much for the parks program, or the WWFF program in Australia. We all the park operators have a lot of respect for Paul, for his wife Maria, who is also on the committee, and for all the state coordinators who take the logs and process them. And so they're great people and have done a wonderful job and continue to do a great job within VKFF. Okay, Parks on the Air, POTA. So it started in 2018. There's 72 countries participating and growing fast. You know, that's really, those 72 countries have really come on board the last year or two. There's been a few, you know, before that, but just the last year or two, it's really gaining momentum.
Which is amazing considering starting in 2018, like that's only a year and a bit before COVID as well, when you couldn't actually go out and activate parks because you're in lockdown. So
yes,
that's quite surprising, actually. Yeah,
that's right. Now, the interesting fact about POTA is back in 2016, the ARRL introduced the program called National Parks on the Air to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the National Park Service. It ran for the entire year, and because the program was so successful, a year later in 2018, it was created as POTA and started in the US, but it now is very much an international program. POTA, this is what I love about POTA. POTA's happy to receive old park, I've got an extra park in there, receive old park activation logs, even if it predates their official start date. And so, you know, I started in WWFF, I probably did maybe close to 100 activations. I think it might have been about 80 or 90 activations before I even knew about POTA. But I was able to take those logs, massage them a little bit to make sure they were in the POTA format. And POTA was quite happy to receive those. They can be logs that go back before 2016. You might have activated the park in the year 2000 and you've kept that paper log. You could put that in an ADIF file and send those contacts into POTA, and they would be very happy to receive that and recognize it as an official activation. So the website's parksontheair.com. That was the first website that they came out with, and it's still there. It has a fair bit of information on it, but the main one now is POTA.app. And that is an absolute fantastic website, and we're going to go through that soon. The country admin for POTA is myself, and I've been doing that for probably about a year and a half now, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so to clarify, with POTA, you only need the 10 contacts, don't you? But they all have to be within the same UTC day.
That's right. Yep. Oh yes, that was the point up there. I think I missed it, Hayden.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah. it's I guess it's easy to remember because so in Australia, VKFF, the national program, and POTA are the same for contacts wise as far as 10 is required. 10. However, with POTA, it's just that you need to get it within that one UTC day.
You do. Yeah. And when we go to have a look at my POTA statistics on the POTA.app website, you'll be able to see all my failed activations there because I was doing a lot of activations around the turn of the UTC day.
Yeah.
And I might have got 5 before the UTC rollover and 5 after. And of course, it counted for WWFF, but not for POTA.
Yeah, because for those that are not familiar, here in Australia, the UTC rollover generally is around about the middle of the day here. So we you either have to go really early in the morning or you have to go later in the afternoon to make sure that you get it all in the one day. So
yes, that's right.
And how are you enjoying being the admin for POTA?
Oh,
How's that
it's
been?
yeah, very good. It's great, and I've got a really good working relationship with Paul VK4 VK5 PAS, and we've seen a lot of progress with POTA. It's coming along really, really well. We've got 140 Australian hams that are actually signed up to the POTA website, whereas when I started about a year and a half ago, there might have been about 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've made some good progress there. And I think that will continue to grow as people see the benefits of the program.
Yeah, and there's the benefits of putting in logs for both of the programs because they're different awards as well. Like you're not sort of putting in for the same thing. It's different programs, so different awards, different achievements that you can get, and that sort of thing. So it's definitely worthwhile putting in for both.
It is. It certainly is. Very much so. And so you can see some of the awards behind me there. I've got one side, they're all VKFF and WWFF, and then the other side, I've got POTA awards. Some of the awards are similar, but yeah, like you said, there are some specific ones that are unique to each program, which are really fun to chase. I was interested to read those comments after your activation, Hayden, and yeah, some of them, were a bit challenging, saying, you were focusing on POTA, Hayden, what about the WWFF program? And I think that's because people in Australia are very protective of the VKFF program. It's been here for so long. It's been a marvelous program. It's got people out activating parks. And so I can understand where people are coming from, because, KFF has been in the States for quite a long time, and then comes along POTA, which has become absolutely massive, and it's not wiped out the KFF, but it's a lot bigger. It's a huge amount of people activating POTA compared to the KFF. But in Australia, it's the other way around. My thoughts, and these are my thoughts. So when I activate a park, I'm doing it for myself. I'm going there to play radio. I'm going there to have fun. I'm going there to muck around with antennas and just have a great time and make as many contacts as I can. The bonus of operating that portable experience is that I can upload my logs to WWFF. I can upload them to POTA. If I'm on a summit within the park, then I can upload it to SOTA. If I'm on an island within a park, then I can upload it to IOTA as well. So you've got all these programs that are available to us. And I'm of the opinion that I just want to enjoy all of them, not just one or two of them. And for my personal view, I want to see both the WWFF and POTA program succeed. And one of those reasons, of course, is I love the different awards that they do have. And just an interesting fact here too, in Australia, both programs, we share the same parks, and it's just over 3,000. And that's national parks, conservation parks, nature parks.
Yeah, I did an interview last night with another ham in the US, and he asked how many parks are in the area, and I went to the POTA website and showed really quickly the amount of parks across Tasmania. And I know in the last 12 months you've added quite a lot into POTA. The ones that were already in WWFF are now in POTA as well. So there's a lot more choices with parks to be able to go out there and activate.
Yeah, in POTA we had to do a bit of catch up, but now we've got the same amount of parks, which is great.
And just going back to also what you said about both these programs, I like to think of it that they both supplement each other. Without a doubt, WWFF is a great program. There's so many people that are getting involved in it, and obviously all around the world. The same too with POTA. But both programs are enabling people to get outside, get operating on the radio, and having some fun outdoors. So I think that's the main thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely, it is. And we've got some good tools that we'll show throughout this program on how we've made it easier to bring those two programs together.
Okay, now we're going to have a look at the POTA website, and Marty, you're going to show us through a couple of features and a couple of bits and pieces on this website that maybe a couple of us might not be too familiar with.
Yeah. Look, props to the POTA developers, man. Their website is absolutely awesome. It's state of the art. Hey, go up to that search field up the top there, Hayden. Now you can search for call signs and parks here. So if you put in just VK4, for instance, okay, it'll drop down and show you 9 of the VK4s. Okay, it just sort of maxes out at 9 in its list. But if you want to get more specific and see all the VK4, Cs or Ks,
Ks,
or those starting with N, or whatever, you can actually hone down, and this is how I do my counts of how many activators we've got in Australia. I go through all the different states, so not activators, but actually how many people we've got in the program. And it's about 140.
There's a few VK7s, which I'm happy to see.
In fact, a couple of those just joined within the last few days. So might have been because of your video, mate.
Maybe. Excellent.
And so that's the of course users, but you can also look at the parks. And so if you have a look at, let's give you a park that you can search there. Let's go to, I think it's D'Aguilar National Park. If you put in VKFF, VK 1411. Okay, click on that park there. Okay, and so it gives a little bit of a map of where the park is located relating to its region. You can see on the left-hand side, you've got a bit of information about the park. Now we're going to compare this to the park that you activated. Well, I'm going to get you to put your park in a minute, but just have a look here. I've got some extra information in here. I've got a website that gives a little bit of information. That's the actual official parks website. We've got access methods. You can actually access this park from an automobile or walk in on foot. Activation methods, automobile or pedestrian. And then there's a comment. So this comment I got from Mark VK4KC. He activated this park, and he sent me an email and gave me a little bit of information of where he activated from. And so one of my roles as POTA admin for Australia is that I have rights to be able to edit park information. And so for the parks that I've done, I'm starting to go through and put comments in there to help future activators. And anybody that's activated the park, I'd welcome comments that I can put in against these parks to be able to help others. So here's a little bit of information here.
Very handy,
He's even gone to the trouble of giving a coordinate there, which you can put straight into Google Earth and see exactly where he hung his antenna from. So it's fantastic. Really
it takes some of the guesswork out of it, I suppose, if you know that someone else has been there already and what they've used, so that you know whether to bring a wire antenna or what antenna to bring. So
for sure.
Good,
for sure. Okay, on the below that, you've got the park leaders. So these are people who have activated this park. You can see VK3 Par Fox, 2IO and 4EMP have activated it. 2IO is the park leader with 119 QSOs. Okay, and the hunters, I've hunted that park many times, and lots of other people have as well, including Rolly down there, ZL1 BQD. And over on the right-hand side, it shows the few statistics about the activations, how many they got on CW data, phone, and then their total QSOs. So, Hayden, why don't you go and if you type in your park that you did.
VK, this will test my memories. VK.
Or you don't have to put the number in. You could just start typing the name of the park and even just give it the first name.
I did get it right.
Oh, you did.
Yep. So I can search by in VK. So we use VK stroke the park number, and if it was, for instance, if it was the US too, it would be kilo, wouldn't it? Because they use the kilo ones. Yep.
Yeah.
So
but you can just type in south and just see how it just comes up. Yep. Yeah. But you see how we don't have the information about whether you can activate by pedestrian or automobile, and no comments in there, no website. So this is one of those parks that you've activated, and if you've got some information to send me, I can then put that in, which is going to be valuable to others.
Yeah, this particular park is quite a large one, so there's plenty of places to be able to activate from. So I guess if you're in a similar situation and you have quite a large national park, there might be many different methods or different ways to activate it. But I still guess I guess that having someone who has activated it before, they can then say where they activated it. And it might be like, a park bench there or something, a real easy way to do it. Yeah.
And a lot of people do like activating from their cars.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to know whether a park is suitable for that or not.
Just while we were thinking about speaking about activating from cars, that's a very good way for those who can probably be a bit apprehensive of operating maybe in public or in a public area. Just whacking up an antenna and operating from your car, there's a little bit of privacy there. So I know that can be a big concern as well. So and that's the good thing. It's unlike SOTA, where you can't activate from your car or have any sort of power sources that you plug into or anything like that. You can definitely do that with parks and POTA.
So this is a recent activation that I did. So I've put 2 coordinates in here. I had to walk into this park. It's not a huge park, but I found a spot where I could park the vehicle, but it was under power lines and it was just outside of the boundary, and they were the high voltage power lines as well, which is not good for activating. But I had to walk about 50 meters, and I given the coordinates there of where I've walked to be able to get away from those power lines and wasn't affected by any power line noise, and was in the park and found a suitable spot to activate from there. Over time, we'll build up this information. There's also some other information in the parksandpeaks.org website. When we go there, well, I'll show you some useful resources that are available there. Okay, so if we go to the map, I think most people are familiar with the map and the dots on the map. There's been requests to individualize maps so that when you activate a park, the color of the dot changes.
Oh, yeah.
So that you know which ones you haven't activated and which ones you have. Wouldn't that be great?
Yep.
But oh boy, there'd be some intense programming in that.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see there all the parks available that are close by you. And you can click on any one of those yellow dots, hover over, okay, just gives you a bit of information, then you click on the more info, then it actually opens you up, into that park screen. Yeah. All right, over on the left again, we'll look at the next one, which is the park list. Now, this is interesting because you can look at every park around the world that's in POTA, which is fantastic. And, there's an API call to this list as well that some programmers might use, to get park information out of POTA. And you're allowed to call that once a day, once every 24 hours. That database can be interrogated. So if you go up to Australia, okay, so that shows all the parks there. But you can, I think, that you can sort it by state as well. You've got totals there, numbers of parks, which in Tassie, where you are, 142 parks. Okay. All right. So
I've got my work cut out for me.
yeah. There's an award made if you activate all your parks in the state.
Well, unfortunately, I just had a look really quickly when I was looking at the map. There's probably there's a lot of parks that are in quite remote areas, so that might require some additional ways of getting to them.
And there are some parks that are surrounded by private property as well, which they're the type of things that we can make notes on the park and even mark a park deactivated instead of active if there's no chance of getting in there. So if you click on Tasmania, okay, so there's all your parks there. You can actually download, they've got a few options there, CSV file, but actually KML and various things as well. So it'll put those points. It won't give you the official park boundary, like the other one that we talked about earlier, but this will just give you a a bearing that is somewhere within the park, probably centered within the park. But what's nice is that, if you wanted to get a CSV file of all the parks in Tassie, you can filter down to Tassie and then do a download CSV.
Yep.
And there you go, mate.
Oh yeah, so we got the CSV file.
Yeah. So
you can keep this for your own records.
You could. Gives you your grid square.
Yep.
Of where that longitude and latitude is. I think the other thing, those fields at the top there, I don't know if they're sortable. If you click on, they are.
Yes.
Okay, so if you wanted to see in Tasmania, which parks have been activated the most, if you click on activations, okay, you can then sort it by which are the most popular parks.
What's the most activated park in Australia? So let's have a look. So if we go, if we go Australia and we go activations,
I reckon it'll be the Blue Mountains.
Alpine National Park.
Alpine National Park. Blue Mountains is down a bit. It's 19. Okay. Oh, Port Stephens. All those guys up there north of Sydney. There's quite a few park activators around the Port Stephens area. VK2 MET and Gav, he's up there as well.
So I noticed too, if you are also logged in, you've got my activations and my hunted QSOs. So if you're if you're a park to park, if you've got a park to park and you've logged in, it's under my hunted QSOs there.
Yeah, or if you might have worked them from home. They're activating and you've contacted them.
Sure.
Then you're a hunter to that park. So I'm going to show you this side of the menu, okay, which is now my profile. But you can by typing in anybody's call sign here, what it brings up is their profile, and so it shows a brief snapshot of their awards, and then shows I think about 10 of your most recent park activations and parks that you've hunted. So Rowley was the last one that I hunted when he was doing FT8 from one of the parks over there in New Zealand. And Mooloolah River was the last park that I activated. Okay, so again, you don't even have to be signed in. You can just type in anybody's call sign and it will give you that snapshot of their information. All-time statistics for me. Okay, I've had 204 successful activations and 155 successful unique parks. And I've hunted 420 unique parks. So you can get that off the statistics here as well.
And is the second field there the total amount of attempts?
Yes, that's correct. Remembering that some may be unsuccessful if you don't get to the 10. Yeah.
But you can still obviously submit your log because you can.
It's important to. It's important to because those hunters still get credit for hunting that park. And if you don't submit your log, then they miss out on that. Yeah. Okay, so that's my profile, my awards. So this is where you actually download your various award certificates, and they just run this process about 2 or 3 times a week, where they generate the award certificates for those people who have qualified, and then they're here. This is limited to 10 rows at the moment, but if I go all, you can see here.
Wow.
All the different awards, and if you can download these at any particular time. So it's a great resource there. Now down a bit further, it gives you a bit of a snapshot of how you're going towards your next awards. And so my next award for activations is 200 unique parks, and I'm at 155. My next award for hunting is 500 parks, and I'm currently at 420. Okay, so it just gives you a little bit of information there. As you're going. I like this too, hunted US states. Now, a little bit harder for us to try and hunt US states, but all of these I've pretty much made on FT8, and I've got 10 so far. But that's a bit of a challenge for me. I'd like to keep working at that.
Mhm.
And as band conditions improve, then hopefully that'll go well too.
And as you do that too, you can submit your logs to things like QRZ and get awards for that as well, because they do very similar
They do.
worked all state awards and things. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, it's got the references that I've activated in the different states
Mhm.
that I've activated in, and I have been to the Northern Territory and done a few parks there, and in South Australia as well. I'll have to get down to Tassie, mate. That's for sure.
Oh, we'll have you.
Yeah.
Do a bit of a road trip around activating a lot of the
Yeah.
parks.
Now, the next one is my stats. This is quite interesting because you can export, again, there's these files here that you can export for parks that you've activated and parks that you've hunted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can download, bring them into Excel, manipulate that data. And so it gives me some information here on bands that I've activated, parks that I've hunted.
I can guess the Antarctica one. I think I know
Yeah,
who the QSO was with.
yeah, Paul, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. In fact, that was, when was his last trip there? About a year ago or something like
Yeah,
that?
he was there, I think, roughly 6 to 8 months ago. He come back. So yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And so when he came back, I hit him up and said, look, there's some guys that would love for you to submit your log to POTA,
Mm,
particularly some Aussies and also some Japanese POTA stations who are
mm,
hunters that worked him. And so he was kind enough to submit to sign up to POTA and submit his log, which was absolutely fantastic.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, it just gives you a little bit of information there. And again, you can drill down here. Okay, you can go by state. You can see New South Wales, and you've got the individual parks that I've hunted, and you can actually see here the actual QSO,
Mm.
the
So you've
time and
got
the date.
it's your full log,
It is,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely fantastic. Okay, the next one is my activations, and so with this one, every column here is sortable. And so if I want to look at my the oldest activation I've done, most recent activation I've done. Okay, the activation where I got the total amount, or the total amount of QSOs was 86. Least amount, 1. I've had a lot, and of course this is activating over that UTC day.
Mm,
Yeah. So I've got a few parks here that were unsuccessful. When you look at these logs, I've got 86 contacts here. And
mm,
so, I can go down, sort by 100 or view by 100, and there's my whole log
mm,
for that activation.
mm.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The other thing with regards to my account, it's important to, so I've got a few different call signs. I've got VK4MAD and VK4DOG. If you had call signs in the past that you don't necessarily have, but you might have hunted people with those call signs, you can put it in here and actually put a start and finish date to when you had that call sign, so that the system knows that you get the credit for using that call sign, during that period of time. This is where I'm set up with a few extra rights
Mm-hmm.
as a park manager and park creator. So I can put all that comment into the parks, and I can even create parks as they come.
I suppose just on that too, don't go sending all of your I want this park added to POTA requests to you, Marty, because there is a process around it, and you're reviewing those on a continual basis, correct?
That's correct, yeah. And we're really going off that environment database,
Hmm.
which comes out. It's updated every 2 years. Well, mate, that's besides that, you've got your spotting and your alerts, where you can use the POTA website to put an alert up to say that you're going to be activating at a certain time. When you get there, you can put a spot up to let people know that you're now starting your activation. So they're pretty standard type of things. And when we look at the Parks and Peaks website, yeah, we'll go a little bit more into that too and look at the benefits of that. Okay, so Hayden, we just come over to the top activators, and that's available from this left down hamburger menu, top activators there. You can see that we're very proud to have an Aussie in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gerard, VK2, India Oscar. And how this works is it's based on unique parks. So amount of unique parks that are activated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the criteria with regards to who gets the top spot.
Yep.
But we can change this rows per page, and we can go down and say, okay, I want to have a look at the top 100, and we can scroll down here, and we could see.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, there I am. Yeah, I must have missed Peter VK3, Papa Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in there too, not too far down. He's probably around about 30. And so we've got a few Aussies in there in the top 100. And again, all these columns are sortable. So great spot here. You can, because we've got the search field up here, or you can actually here you can look at also if you want to see, okay, back in 2016, okay, who was our top activators then, or who had the amount of parks at the top. So you can sort by year, or you could look at all time.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this search field here, you could just type, maybe we just want to have a look at the VKs. And, oh no, hang on, it's this search field here, sorry, the VKs. Okay, and you can see here that the VK2IO, PF, KC, ANL, Yankee Victor, Tony. And so you can scroll down and see everybody's statistics as far as the parks that they've activated. It's a wealth of information, Hayden, that you can sort of search and find out about how the program is going in a particular country. You might be interested to see how it's going in Europe or Great Britain,
Mm-hmm.
and just search out what's happening in those countries and how it's progressing.
So that's activators. So there's a similar one for hunters as well.
There's a similar one for top hunters, very similar. So you've got the search field, you can search by year, and yeah, it's pretty much the same information, but just hunting rather than activating.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we've had a look at the POTA app. Now we're going to have a look at parksandpeaks.org, which is more of a VK New Zealand ZL centric website, which has been around for a little while. So yeah, this is an interesting one, Marty.
It certainly is, and it's put together by Alan Harvey, VK3ARH, and I think he saw the need for a site that Australian and New Zealand users could use to put up their alerts and spots. And it's not only for parks, it's for multiple different programs, SOTA, islands on the air, shires, beaches on the air. As you can see there, ZLOTA, which is New Zealand, their
Lakes on the air. Yep.
Yeah, their lakes on the air.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own kind of program over there.
Silos on the air as
Silos,
well.
which is our newest program here in Australia, which is becoming very popular. So yeah, so he's done a great job in making this application available to ham radio operators as a wonderful resource to be able to put our spots on there. And it also interfaces, those spots and alerts interface with the apps that are available for logging. Yeah, so let's go up to tools there, Hayden. And if we go to tools, before we go to parks, we'll go to tools and just show that here are some apps. Okay, we've got Parks and Peaks, the iOS app, which is a logging app written by Sue, VK5AYL. And I think you've had a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, I found that very handy. I'm going to use that on my next activation.
Right.
Because I knew about the next app in the list there, but I didn't know there was an iOS one until I found that.
So POTA Log is for Android devices, and Parks and Peaks is for iOS devices. And I've got an iOS device. So I've been using Parks and Peaks for a while, and yeah, it alerts me to spots, and the alerts come through so I can see, what activations are coming up. It doesn't, this website and the apps, they don't interface with the POTA.app. And so if I'm activating a park, I would always use parksandpeaks.org to put my alert up, to put my spot up.
Mm-hmm.
Do I put my spot and alert up on POTA.app? Maybe sometimes. If I'm going to be operating 40 meters in the middle of the day from Australia, there's no use me wasting people's time up in the US. They're never going to hear me. But if I'm going to be operating maybe 15 or 20 meters on FT8, then I'll put a spot up on POTA.app, because I know maybe some US, Hawaii. I've had some good results into Hawaii, and certainly there's a lot of POTA hunters in Japan. They love their POTA in Japan.
Or as I found out, European stations. I spotted on POTA.app and had all these European stations calling me.
Yeah, which is great on 20 meters in our late afternoons. Okay. There's also another program here called mParks Log Converter, which we're going to go through as well, which is great in bringing both the POTA and WWFF programs and making it easy to convert from one log format to the other. All right, if we're down to parks. So with parks here, you can you can start typing the name of a park in here. So let me put sheep station, or just sheep in there, and go process, and I'll show you all the parks starting with sheep. So if you go Sheep Station Creek Conservation Park. Okay, it gives you the VKFF ID. It also gives you the POTA ID down there as well, a little bit lower. Okay, if you scroll down a little bit further, it has some park information there. The user VK4AAC and VK4KC. So we've submitted comments. Users can make comments on this, just like in POTA, we've made comments about parks. This also has a comment section where you can upload your blog link, or actually put a comment directly in. So if you click on my little blue hyperlink there, okay, I've given some information there about where the best place is and where you can operate from a vehicle. And so I would replicate this information also into POTA, but I see the value of it in having it here in Parks and Peaks as well. So also under tools, there's maps. Now, if you scroll down here, this is where we can download our KMZ files. And Mark VK3OHM has done a fantastic job in putting this together. And so he's done it also for SOTA and for the park boundaries within Australia. And so the one that I use is called the VKFF-all, and it has all the park boundaries and SOTA summits, SOTA peaks, all within that one file. And it's not a very big file, it takes a little while to load, but to be able to know that you're officially within the park boundary is a good thing. And so do you want to go and let's bring that up. Let's bring up Google Earth. This is something, so Hayden has preloaded this file into Google Earth.
And we're showing
just to the left where you were, Hayden, just that one. So this is Calandra Conservation Park. This is a recent park that I did. Let's zoom in. You can close that window, but let's zoom right in on that park. Okay. So you see
very big, is it?
It's not a very big park.
No.
But do you see the clearings, the tracks that go through it? There's the one on the left, and then the one up the top there. These are obvious signs of high voltage power lines. This is one of the best things you can do with these parks, is say, oh, am I going to be near power lines? How can I get away from power lines? How am I going to access the park? Can I drive in? Where can I park? What's going to be the easiest way to walk in if I can't drive the vehicle in? But just to know where those power lines are is very helpful as well. You can also get a feeling of, okay, what's the property around? Does it look like private property?
I noticed over here the boundary at the back of the car park of this facility.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably can't get in there, but
no, that's right. So But this is a great tool to be able to use. And when I first started activating parks as part of the VKFF program, I wasn't aware of this, and it was very difficult, just to maybe get a map image up on iOS Maps, Apple Maps, and say, okay, well, there's a green park there. Hopefully I'm in it, but they're not always that accurate.
And as you can see too, they've got the triangles are the soda summits also, which are labelled within some parks and also some outside of parks as well. But that's handy for the dual activation if you want to do both soda and a park at the same time. So
that's right.
Yeah, very handy.
Yeah, it tells you how many points. Look at that, 6-pointer.
Yeah.
So some great information there. Another wonderful resource, a tool for park activators and soda activators. All right, Hayden, so we're on the alert screen here, and this is where we can promote our upcoming activations. And so you can also do this within POTA.app as well. And so here you'll see upcoming activations that are planned. And so we've got quite a few coming up within the next few days. And it just helps those, particularly the hunters, know what frequency and band that you'll start off on, and the approximate time that you're going to be in the park. Because sometimes when you're in a park, you don't have phone reception, and so you can't self-spot. So we often look to the alerts as the next best thing.
So as we mentioned before, there's also a converter called mParks, which allows conversion from WWFF logs to POTA and vice versa. So here's the website, Marty, which is meta.com.au. I'll put a link in the description for all the links that we've been speaking about today. But I think, we're going to have just a quick look at this particular piece of software.
Yeah, this is relatively new, this piece of software. Alan VK2MET saw a need and has written a wonderful utility to convert WWFF file to POTA or a POTA file to WWFF.
And I suppose just to also confirm that this is not just a thing for VK, this could also be used worldwide, correct?
It can, and Alan is open to submitting, people's suggestions and ideas. He's looking for input in making this a really useful utility. So at the moment, it's got the references, the park references for Australia in there, Japan, US, and Canada. So both the POTA reference and the equivalent WWFF reference for that park. And so here it is open, the mParks converter. So what you do first is you download, there's a process where you download your parks list, and you only have to do that once, or if there's a big update in the parks programs, then you would download it to make sure you got the latest parks in there. But it's as simple as opening the ADIF file, and you're probably not seeing this because that part of my screen is not shared, but I'm going to bring in a WWFF file. So this is VKFF-1500 for VK4KC, and it says, do you want to just press OK to convert this to POTA ID VK1462. So when I go OK, and it's done. It's now created the POTA equivalent for that WWFF file. So POTA,
and that goes through and also converts all of the park to parks as well that you put in your log. Yep.
Yeah, the park to parks as well. And before this, I used to have to go into ADIF master and do all that manually. And a lot of the Aussies were having to do that. But since this utility, it's made it very simple. Now, in the next version of Sue's iOS app, which is in beta version at the moment, that app is going to support POTA natively. And when you activate a park, it'll give you both the VKFF file and your POTA file.
So this mParks converters, what logging software would this be compatible with what logging software do you use for this?
So the file that comes out of Parks and Peaks, the iOS app at the moment, which its current format is for VKFF and the POTA log program, it's written for those two. But Alan has also written the hammers, HAMRS. The format of the file that gives out, that spits out, the ADIF, he has written an import for that, and he's currently testing that. So hopefully that will go live soon. So that will be of great use to our US park activators, that they can put in their POTA log and convert it to the KFF system. And then that way they can submit to the WWFF and get credit in that program as well.
Yeah, so that sounds like a great little piece of software. So that's, again, I'll put the link in the description below. That's by Alan VK2MET, who's created and developed this. And yeah, he's doing some good work with it.
Yeah, the other thing in here is the JS8 call spot builder. And so if I go in here and let's say that I am going to be at a park and I haven't got any mobile phone or cell phone coverage, and I'm going to be on 14.250 and on SSB, and I want to make the comment that I'm QRV in 15 minutes. Okay, and I pick a park, so WWFF, so let's say it's this one. Okay, so now this string here, I could copy and paste that into JS8 call, and through the APRS gateway, it will then include that in the spotting page for Parks and Peaks. He has tried to get it to work for the POTA spotting page, and we're still working on that. He's still working on that. It's something at the POTA end that's got to be fixed, I think, because according to all the documentation, he's doing it right.
Excellent if you don't have phone reception.
Excellent if you don't have phone reception and you've got your laptop and you can do digital modes, you can just pump this out through JS8 call. Yeah, so a great little utility. And I reckon this will continue to grow as Alan gets requests and sees the needs for other things. He is more than willing to accommodate people's requests.
All right, Marty. Well, thank you very much for all of that information. There's a bit to take in there, but it's all great information. And hopefully we can see quite an increase in both WWFF and POTA, at least here in VK and definitely across the world. So really appreciate your time.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thanks for having me on, Hayden.
Next up, we've got Don Izzo, Smoke Signals RF here in the YouTubers Handfest. He's going to be talking more POTA, this time with the one of the admins of POTA, Matt here. So check him out. The link will be over here to follow us over there on the Handfest. So thank you, everyone, for watching 73.